Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Kylie O'Connor, and I'm one of the co-leads for the Women in Sports Product Club at the University of Oregon SPM program. Apologies in advance for my background. I have a track meet coming up, and so I'm kind of hunkered down in this parking lot, but definitely had to tune in for this. I want to thank our panelists so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I'm going to offer a brief introduction about who they are and what they're doing for work right now, and then I'll pass it over to them to dive into, give a little bit more context. So let's start with Erin Kenz, who is a fellow sports product alum. She's held roles at Burton, Puma, and North Face, and recently joined Nike as a PLM for the Jordan brand and streetwear. Next up, Natalie Nelson. She's worked for Nike for nearly a decade, most currently as Global Merchandising Director for Women and Kids Footwear at the Jordan brand. She also has experience working for Lauren Taylor and Men's Warehouse. Lastly, Kaylee, and let me know if I mispronounce your last name, Hannisek, product line manager for Jordan Women's Apparel. She's been at Nike for nearly 4 years, and prior to her roles at Nike, she worked in a variety of companies such as Intel and Moda Health. So once again, thank you all so much for taking the time to be here today. Erin, if we could start with you and share a little bit more context about your background.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Hey, everyone. It's so good to see some familiar faces. I hope you're all enjoying the program. I know I did. So yeah, I grew up in Buffalo, New York, diehard football family, American football that is, until I decided to flip the script and play global football, so soccer. Ended up playing in college and was hoping to continue to play and faced an injury in my senior season. So decided, I got to pivot careers and find somewhere that, I can really follow my passions within sport. And I found the University of Oregon Sports Product Management program. Studied there for, just shy of 2 years. Through that program, had connects and contracts with both Burton, Puma, even Nike. And then beyond that, found my way to the North Face and then now Jordan brand. And I'm super excited to be where I am.
Hi, everyone. Natalie Nelson, coming to you live from New York City right now because my last role was based in New York. So my start, I'm originally from Tennessee, Southern girl at heart, went to college in Atlanta. I left Atlanta and moved to Minneapolis, was there for about a year working on the Target Corp, and then decided to move to New York a year later. And I was there for 13 years. So I've done things like worked in the buying office and product development for Lauren Taylor. I worked at Men's Warehouse in product development. I also dabbled in a little bit of grassroots marketing before getting the call to come to Nike. And so I've been at Nike for right under, like Kylie said, right under 10 years. And I've touched every facet of merchandising thus far, except for working with our Nike Direct stores.
Hi, everybody. I am Kaylee Hannisek. So Kylie, you got it right the second time. I know it's a complicated one to pronounce. And yeah, I'm currently a product line manager in Jordan Women's Apparel. I actually had a windy path to get to where I'm at now. I may have gone to Oregon State, but pretend you didn't hear that. I actually was enrolled at University of Oregon, but made the cheerleading team at Oregon State. So I switched schools in August before I started my freshman year. But I always knew that I loved fashion, and I had actually wanted to go to fashion school, but also wanted to get a bachelor's degree. So I ended up in communications somehow and majored in new media communications, and then actually got recruited to be a recruiter out of college. And so I did that for a couple of years and realized I just really was not passionate about that career field and being in HR. And I really wanted that connection back to sport and to fashion. And so I took a leap of faith and took a contract at Nike in consumer services and worked with consumers through the Nike.com chat with an expert function, and also as a social media specialist there. And then my contract ended. So I ended up at Intel doing a little bit more marketing work, and then came back to Nike after that as a full-time employee and held a couple different roles within Nike. And then now most recently have been in Jordan, working on Jordan women's apparel, and also some of our special projects previously. So as an associate product line manager. So yeah, thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, Kaylee. We will not hold it against you that you are a Beaver, but thank you guys all for sharing that more in-depth background. I think we're going to start off with, a very straightforward, typical question. We're curious, what are your favorite and least favorite parts of your role? So maybe if we could get started with you, Kaylee.
Yeah, I think, well, I guess I'll start with the least favorite and end on the good note, but I think the hardest thing about my job for me, I think, is when, like getting invested in product and believing in pieces so much, and then having, the process, whether it's not adopted by our partners in the geographies, or sometimes, if it's not going to be a profitable enough style. But those are the hardest ones. Those hurt a little, and having the whole team, we all get invested in it. So we really believe in the product that we're bringing to market. So that part is really hard, and having to tell your team, like, we're going to have to drop the style. That is not my favorite conversation. And then I would say my favorite part is, there's so many parts about my job that I love, but I love the people that I work with. I love the designers. I love our merchandising partners. We have such a great team, especially working on our women's product. And it is so amazing every day to get to work on the stuff that we do and get to bring the product to the marketplace for women where it previously didn't exist. So I feel really blessed to get to work on this product for sure.
So Natalie, do you mind hopping in next?
No problem. So I will follow suit and start with my least favorite thing about my job. And it's going to entail around or encompass the fact that we have a lot of meetings. So not my favorite thing, right? Because it takes you away from the work that you actually want to do. If I'm just being really honest, way too many meetings, but you have to do it to get the work done. My favorite part, though, is the fact that when you work in merchandising, you get to connect in with the consumer and seeing the consumer face to face, and having those honest conversations about the product and about how we bring things to life is very interesting, because it's like, rubber hits the road. It's like, okay, hey, we loved it internally, but they may or may not necessarily take to it. But when they do, and when you see it come to life and being out into the marketplace, it's nothing like it. And then having the conversation with the consumer to talk about the product, it's the best.
Love that. And then Erin, let's round it off with you, please.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be one of those oddly and annoyingly optimistic people. I really don't hate anything in my job. And I know that sounds not as honest as it could be, but it is, truthfully. Like I tell people all the time, we have the dream jobs no one ever knew they wanted, until they got, old enough to realize that somebody has to make the clothes, right? And for me, growing up, I always knew that where I wanted to be was at Nike. I tell people all the time, first thing I did when I was 15 years old, midnight on the dot, submitted my application to the local store. And I'd tell people every time I was playing the long game, and at some point I would get there. And then, you fall into what is my favorite part of the role, and that's the team. Our favorite quote, and I'm going to sound like a broken record to those of you who have heard me speak before, but if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And if you want to do both, build a great team. And that's literally exactly what we have at the Jordan brand. And I'm going to echo Kaylee, like that's my favorite part of the role in all.
Awesome. Those are all really great answers. So I appreciate you guys sharing your insights there. Next up, we're going to pass it to Sherilyn, who has the next question.
Yeah, thanks, Kylie. We're going to shift gears a little bit. And the question we have is, what attributes are most important to have success in your role? And how do you showcase those skills to be an indispensable part of your team?
I can hop in first on that. I would say like echoing a little bit about what Natalie was talking about, the consumer piece is so important. I think having that connection and understanding the consumer and trend on the product management side is really important. And, I think it can be hard sometimes. We're working on long timelines comparatively to some of our vertical competitors that are able to bring product to the market within like 6 months or less sometimes. We definitely work on a longer calendar than that. So I think being really connected and staying super close to the consumer and super close to what's going on in the world with trend, with fashion, is probably the most important piece, in my opinion, of being a product manager. And then on the flip side of that, also being able to work with team members and different personalities and different teams, because we really do work across multiple different functions. And I think, to showcase those skills is just showing up every day. And even when you don't want to, or you're having a hard day, or you're going through maybe other things in your life, I think being able to show up and put that stuff aside and work with your team members and bring it back. I think for me, just having that passion is been such a huge help in that area, and makes coming to work fun and working with my coworkers easy. So I think definitely just being a team player would probably be the way that I try to showcase that.
I can keep it rolling. I'm starting to sense the trend, but yeah, I would love to echo that. I think, and what I kind of wrote down is as my train of thought is, being a PLM on any team at any brand, you're considered the quarterback of whether it be the Triad, the couple different functions that you're working with. You have to be able to talk to your merchandising team. You have to be able to communicate thoughts and ideas well to design teams, to development teams, and to color design teams. And each and every one of these individuals has a different way of thinking, working, and creating, right? And so to be the best teammate and quote unquote quarterback possible, you really have to understand that people receive and give communication differently. And as one of the lead points of that triad, you have to be able to adapt to that circumstance. And like Kaylee said, always bring the positive energy, even when it's hard, even when everyone's down, even when things haven't been good. And you have to just be able to bring people along with you and kind of quarterback them into the next phase of the business. And lucky for us, like if we're doing well, everybody's in a positive mood. And if you're not, then it's tough to find the next way out. So I think, yeah, at the end of the day, showcasing those skills by learning how to communicate with different people, giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, showing up even when it's hard, and always bringing that positivity to your teammates around you is the biggest thing for me about being a PLM.
And then I'll round it out. On the merchandising side, one of the biggest things is you have to be flexible and adaptable. I'll compare it to the kitchen drawer, right? We all have that secret kitchen drawer where there's a lot of different things that's in there. You don't quite know that you need it until you need it, and you go to the drawer and you pull it out. So, you definitely have to like flex and ebb and flow in merchandising, because there's a lot of cross-functional partners, whether it's on the product side and creative side, or if it's on the business side. So making sure that you can flow back and forth and have the conversations, and being able to speak on both sides of those things is definitely great, which leads into the fact that merchandising is that great blend of art and science, which means that, hey, I have to have conversations with my consumer planner, right? And talk about what products belong in there, how many styles, down to the SKU level and the color level, but then also talk about like, well, how many units also do we need to get after once we've had the conversation about the financial plan that we have to hit and the revenue plan that we have to hit for a particular season. And then the other one I would say is being able to be uncomfortable writing in the levels of shades of gray that merchandising can be, right? There's always something that comes along the line and you're like, okay, well, who needs to take care of that? And so a lot of times it becomes merchandising in a sense, and so just being able to flow and flex and be adaptable is definitely important to the success of this role.
All right, I'll hop in next with my question. Erin, I feel like you kind of already spoke to this, and it seems like you're very lucky to have a place where, at least at this point, you're really happy with most, like pretty much everything. But I'm kind of curious for all of you how you would, prioritize or kind of value whether like the brand you work for, the role you have, and the people you work with, and kind of how those three things interact.
Yeah, Charlotte, I mean, I'll jump in just because I know you and I have even touched on this in the past in certain meetings and instances, but for me, I prioritize the people first. At the end of the day, like we're making clothes and shoes, and I know a lot of people don't think it's saving the world, but it could save that one person and it could impact somebody's life in a great way. So taking a serious note to our role and to the work that we do is great and all, but if the people aren't happy on your teams, then you're not going to come out with that great product. And just in being the best teammate, like I think you have to prioritize the people first. And even when you're not a leader, you have to prioritize the people first, because at the end of the day, you get the best work out of those next to you when you're giving your best to them and you demand that back and forth and you have those honest and tough conversations. And at the end of the day, everybody comes to work with a smile on their face. And that's really all that matters to me. And then obviously success of the brand is something that goes hand in hand with success of, your counterparts. If people feel set up for success in their roles, if they feel supported, if they feel heard and understood, then they're going to build and create a better product, in my opinion. And from there, that stems down to my role then at the end of the day, right? If the people around me are happy, that means I'm doing my job, and that means I'm extremely happy in my role. And at the end of the day, continuing to drive that business only comes from success of everyone around you.
I would say the same for me. So it starts with people and who you surround yourself with and how your team comes together. We do nothing alone at Nike and Jordan at all, right? So we have what we call the matrix versus, a hierarchical, and you have to work cross-functionally. You have to work with your own team. Sometimes we have to plug in with Nike. There's even times when we plug in with Nike, Converse, and Jordan all at the same time, right? So it's like making sure that, when you connect, you connect at a human level so that not only do you get the job done, but you do it in a manner that everybody is going along in the same pace and in the same direction. Again, brand would be second for me as well. Working for the Jordan brand, it's not just a name, but it's a name connected to a person, right? So to me, that makes it a little bit more tangible of like, okay, hey, we're working for Michael Jordan, excellence, that kind of, so that runs through my mind a lot when I think about the work that I do. And then the role, again, would be third for me as well. My role is what it is, and it's what I do, but when I actually connect in and plug in the people with the brand, you know what I mean? Then it just all comes together as the trifecta.
Yeah, I mean, those are great points, Erin and Natalie, and I totally agree. It is definitely the people you work with, number one. And I think that even extends to the consumers that we work with too. And I actually got to spend some time with Natalie in New York, and we met with several different consumers and different retailers, and it was really amazing getting to connect in with those people as well and sharing that with your team. So that is one of the joys of working in product management and also merchandising too. And I think that definitely extends there. But yeah, definitely the working triad as well. I've had the luxury to work on a couple of different teams where the team dynamic was just so amazing. I helped on some ACG product. Gosh, it's almost been 2 years ago now, but that's been in the market now. And that team was an amazing, well-oiled machine bringing that product to life. And it translates. I mean, that product is now selling out on Nike.com, and I'll see people wearing it around, especially recently, like this weekend, I saw somebody wearing one of the tees I'd worked on. And it's funny, they probably think I'm staring at them, but it's just really cool to see that. And so that is definitely a product of having an amazing triad and team, and not even just triad, but the functions around brand and all the other functions that we work with. And then I think, yeah, definitely the brand, and Natalie made some really good points. And I will say too, I was going to say the other going back to the team too, Jordan is unlike any place I've ever worked. It is definitely a family environment, and people say that and you don't understand it until you're working there. And it is so true. And I think that the team is beyond just a team. It definitely feels like a family. And that is a really cool thing that you don't just get anywhere. And so that extends to the brand also. And working for Jordan Brand specifically is really special, I would say. And I think we have to really honor that and keep that special for the consumer as well. So that is something that I think about every single day. And how are we empowering people and consumers through our product? And then, yeah, the role, I think, our roles switch in and out, especially in Jordan, we have to wear a lot of hats. We've gotten some resource now, but we've run pretty lean in the past. So, our roles are, like Natalie said too, the kitchen drawer thing. I love that analogy. It's so true. And you have to wear so many different hats that I feel like that part is just, I don't know, rolling, I guess. So defining your role can be a little tough sometimes, but yeah, definitely people first.
All right, thank you so much. Love hearing about your feelings about where you work and how your values tie into what you're doing now. So we're going to move into some individual questions now. Erin, nice to see you. Last time we saw you was in EBJ's class, so great to see you again. And I believe you were at the North Face at that point, and now you've transitioned to this new role. So congratulations on that, super exciting. So could you tell us a little bit about how the North Face and Jordan Brand consumers are different, and what you're doing to better connect and understand your consumer at your new role, please?
Yeah, no, and thank you so much. It's good to see you again. Yeah, it's funny how paths cross at such opportune moments, but it was definitely a wild ride from the end there to the start here. And I'm so fortunate to be where I am, and I couldn't be happier with how things played out. But jumping into your question, it's interesting because I had started on a team at the North Face in performance. So on mountain product, when you're thinking trail running, to snowboarding, to skiing, right? And that really set me up to understand how outerwear can impact the street, or the streetwear consumer. From there, I shifted over to the lifestyle and streetwear team, which was such an amazing blend of both performance. I like to say they toed the line better than almost anyone between performance and streetwear, and like performance and lifestyle. And so for me, the consumer at the North Face, when you look at certain products, is very similar to the consumer at Jordan Brand, at least on the men's side for me right now, when you look at specific products, right? So product to product, you can see lots of lines tied between each of those consumers. However, I do think that the best way to understand your new consumer is to understand the markets that you're distributing the product into, and where that product then kind of comes into play in their daily life, and where they're then digesting media and wearing this product out into the market themselves. So for me, they weren't all that different when it came to the streetwear and lifestyle consumer. However, there are big differences when it comes to the performance side to now my streetwear side. So, better understanding it, I like to tell people, like, if you're not making your job a hobby rather than just like a job, then you're not doing it right. So if you're opening, social media, the first thing you wake up, it better be maybe reading Hypebeast or checking certain Instagram accounts and seeing what people are doing, how they're digesting media, what they're publishing. And at the end of the day, it's easier to me to follow and identify the Jordan Brand consumer. You've got people who are sneakerheads to an extent, but then you've also got people who are impacted by the sport of basketball as a whole. Then you've got women who are amazing and entering into this, where Kaylee works and her space. It's just so incredible to see women finally having a voice in this amazing arena, right? And now you have such a wide array of consumers that have the ability to play in streetwear as a whole. You've got women sometimes buying, men's clothing. You've got vice versa. And for me, at the end of the day, it's about just really studying the consumer in every facet of your life, making it a daily habit, and enjoying it too. So yeah, that's it. I just like to open Hypebeast every day when I wake up, and then check Instagram and follow more accounts for work than I do for private and personal reasons, and just, making it a hobby for me. And again, like, just loving the work that we do and being around people who are so obsessed with the product as well. You never stop learning from them. And yeah, that's it.
Cool. Thank you, Erin. Sounds fun to wake up and read hype piece kind of for work every day. I'll go ahead with our next question, which is for Kaylee. You were a marketplace operations specialist and a category information analyst before becoming an APLM. Can you explain what your previous roles entailed and how those skills required for those roles translated into product management?
Yeah, I've met with several people at Nike, just, it's part of the deals, informationals and meeting with people and understanding their journey. And I hear all the time people, their journey isn't always linear. It's very zigzaggy. And I will say that is very true of my Nike journey so far. I mentioned that I was in consumer services initially when I first started at Nike. And I feel so that was working directly with the consumers. Marketplace operations is working directly with accounts. So I worked on the JCPenney account, our MDS, which is our moderate department stores. And then I also got the opportunity to work on our City Specialty West business, which is all of the boutiques on the West Coast, mostly in LA. So Bait, some Undefeated, all of those types of accounts. So that was really cool, getting to work on that. And I think having both of those experiences has helped me a lot in my product role now, because I have the understanding. I got to be on the front lines with the consumer and consumer services and really in the trenches with them through the questions they were asking on Nike.com and then also through social media, and getting to see them bring the product to life through their workouts, their runs, or just, lifestyle in general. So that was a really great first exposure to Nike. So I'm really grateful for that role. And then marketplace operations gives you that experience with the accounts and how accounts are buying on our wholesaler side. So that really helps when you're making product, you understand the multiple levels of the consumer, the accounts, and how and why people are booking or purchasing what they're purchasing. So that was really helpful to see the inner workings of that. And then a category information analyst, now the role is called a product information analyst. I was responsible for maintaining all of the product data that, for every product that we created, I maintained that in our proprietary system. And that was really helpful because even now I really understand the business side and the operational side of our positions. The trend and the consumer stuff is, really fun, but then there's also this other side of having to put your business hat on and understand, okay, if we do this or make this change now, how is that going to affect the product? Can we still bring it to the marketplace if we change the silhouette? Is it too late to do this in system? So there's definitely checkpoints and calendar dates that we have to adhere to. So having that understanding in the system, and it helps me in my role now, but it also helps me to say, I've been where you've been when I'm passing off our line plans to our product information analysts. When I'm passing that off, I've been where they've been and I've done what they've done. So what I'm asking them to do isn't something that I haven't done. So that is really helpful. And then also understanding how to communicate that information to our partners having those roles has been really important. When I first started at Nike, I like Erin that you said that it's the job that no one knew that they wanted. Basically, it's so true. It is exactly the perfect role for me. And I didn't know what it even existed until I started working at Nike. And having that exposure to that, I knew immediately that I wanted to be a PLM, but I had to, take roles around Nike. It's a competitive place. And so, at certain points I would look at where I was, and I'm always like trying to, push myself and get to the next place. And I would look at where I was and just say like, oh, like, I have to take another step this way. And sometimes it felt like maybe I was taking a side step or I wasn't getting to exactly where I wanted to be. But once you get to the point, you can't know what you don't know. And now that I am where I am, I understand why I was in those positions and why, my path went the way that it did, because it's made me more wholesome in my career now. And it's really helped me in my current job. So if I had any advice, if you take a role and you're feeling like, oh, this isn't exactly what I want to do, I think try to see the pieces that you can gain from that and take with you into your next position, because, or, you know, to help you get to where you want to go, because those pieces of experience will be indispensable later. And even if you can't understand that, how it will play into your, you know, roles. The perfect example is I worked on football, American football. And I like football, but it wasn't like, you know, my passion. I'm much more passionate about streetwear and such. And so having that experience of working on something licensed product that isn't quite as sexy sometimes as maybe like our collabs with Travis Scott or, you know, Aleli, was really helpful for me to have that experience. And now going into Jordan Brand, the job that I have now and had as an associate product line manager didn't exist. So it was a blend of our licensed role and then also our streetwear. And I wouldn't have known that would be a job because it didn't exist. Like I said, it didn't exist before. So yeah, it's pretty crazy the way things work out sometimes, and the things that you didn't think you wanted or you didn't know you wanted, and how that comes to life. So I'm super, super grateful for that experience and happy for where it's led me.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. I feel like that is really invaluable advice for us right now. We're applying for internships and there's not a lot out there at the moment. So I think accepting roles that we can just learn from and move on from and apply later on is really helpful advice. I have a similar question like that for you, Natalie. We know that you worked as a product manager, a buyer, and a promotions manager. And we wanted to know what skills you gained in those roles that you continue to utilize today.
Great question. And every single role I've had since I left college, I have taken skills and, you know, put it from one job to the next or one career move to the next. So I'll start with product management. So what I learned there was taking the idea of a product and a concept and actually turning it into a profitable style. So being able to ideate with the team first. And when I was in product management, it was on the retail side. So I was also part of doing the costing as well. So learning about, you know, what it took to go into the product, how it costed, and is it going to meet the margins that your buying team actually wants. And then having the ability to also be on the creative side of partnering with the design and color and material teams to figure out exactly how it's going to come together. In terms of buying, when you're a buyer, people think, you know, hey, you're going into all of these nice showrooms and, you know, buying all this product. And depending on where you are and what company you work for, you do get to do that. But if you're a buyer, you have to love numbers. It's about the numbers, right? So you have to manage your open to buy. You have to learn how to manage the markdown cadence of when product comes in, how long does it stay before you mark it down, and that kind of thing. And then retail math. Again, if you don't like numbers, buying is not the job for you, for sure. And then promotions manager, which is the thing where I was saying I backed into grassroots marketing. I was able to do that because I had been a product manager and they were looking for someone who knew how to control the project from the beginning to the end. So I was able to utilize my skill sets from product management to actually land the role in the promotions manager position and utilize that. One thing that's not on here that I also did, which I find invaluable, is my first job out of college. I actually was a store manager. So I was working there part-time, and then the person who owned it, female owner, asked me to work there full-time. And when you became a full-time manager, she also taught you how to buy, right? So some of the things from there, one, learning how to manage people, two, learning how to buy product. And the other one was, because you work in a store, you're in with the consumer and having conversations on a daily basis. And every single role that I've had since then has been definitely entrenched and tied to consumer. And I just thought about this recently, that like, okay, you know what, that actually set the groundwork and the foundation for me, because I actually worked in stores. So, you know, working in retail is definitely a great way to get a start, for sure.
That's great. Those are all really interesting roles. Really, really cool to hear your experience. The next question here is for Kaylee again, and just what's your favorite Jordan women's product you've worked on and why?
That's so hard. Like I was saying before, the product kind of you get so invested, and I know I was actually just talking to one of the designers I work with the most earlier today, and we were just saying like how we've debated a few times, like, you know, being passionate about product can be tough because you love the pieces and believe in the pieces so much. But I think to choose one, it's like picking your favorite child. But I think right now there's a Jordan women's jersey and basketball short that's up on the website. And we were actually just like tracking to see if it's sold out yet on Nike.com. But that one was really cool to work on and see it brought to life. The designer Jill that I work with, that designed that, she's super talented, and she played basketball herself, and so she really pours her heart and soul into those pieces, and it's really cool to see that creative process come to life. And I know, Erin, you mentioned it, you know, having this product for women where it hasn't previously existed before, and although it is technically on the lifestyle side, we wanted to create pieces that she could maybe hoop into. So that diamond short and jersey that are on the site right now are created with that in mind. So it's really amazing to get to empower women through sport as well. And we see, I believe that the tides are shifting, especially for women in basketball. And we really, you know, try to put that at the forefront of what we're doing, since basketball is so intrinsic and ingrained in our DNA, of course, Michael Jordan being the GOAT. Yeah, so we definitely put kept that in mind when we were designing and bringing those pieces to life. Yeah, it's really cool to see it on the site. Jordan Canada, who's one of our WNBA Jordan athletes, she rocked it on her Instagram. You guys want to check it out, but that shoot came out really cool. And it's just awesome to see it, you know, existing for women, where a lot of women had to wear men's diamond shorts and basketball shorts in the past and jerseys. So she finally has something for her, and we feel really good about that. And I'm excited for everyone to see what we have cooking up for the next couple of seasons too, and years.
Cool. I'm totally going to check that jersey out, probably buy one if I can get my hands on one. Next question is for Natalie. Merchandising is a topic that we learn about a little bit in our program, but we don't get to dive very deep into it because technically it's like outside of the triad, if you may. And so I'm wondering if you could explain what merchandising entails at Jordan, how you interact with the triad, and at what point you get brought into the product development process.
First, I would ask you, what is your triad? What do you consider your triad?
Yeah, product line manager, developer, and designer.
Okay, got it. I would first say that within merchandising, you need to be a consumerist. And I talked about that. Like, my favorite part is actually plugging into the consumer. You definitely have to know what they want, how fast they want it, what trends are they looking at, what other brands are they looking at, what adjacent brands they're looking at, right? To make sure that you're keeping up with them. And you know, as we all know today, everybody is changing so quickly. So you definitely have to make sure you stay ahead of that. And you can't do anything without knowing that you're plugged into your consumer, right? Because then you could be giving them product that they, you know, don't want. The other piece is line planning. Now with our new way of working at Nike and Jordan, line planning is shepherded by the merchandising team, right? So it's, hey, how many products do you need in a season? And then how many colors do you need of that product, right? And then you work with your planning team to figure out how deep do you go to meet the financial plans. But then you also have to plug in with your product team, right? Because they're the team that actually takes that information and starts to work it through to create the product. Then in turn, they go and connect in with the creative team, right? And so making sure that you start with the great foundation of the line plan is definitely important. And depending on if you're what level you're at, or if you want to plug into Nike Direct, you also have to do a little bit of assortment planning and what are those products that really need to show up and really need to shine from a Nike perspective. And then the other thing I would say is applying the why to the what, which goes back to the art and the science. You can have the what in the product, but if you don't know why you're making it, if you don't know if it's cost effective to make it, if you don't know where you want to put it within the marketplace, you know what I mean, then you really don't know if you have the right product for the consumers that you're trying to create the product for. And then the part on like where we come in on the development process, again, we came out of a reorg, and now product and merchandising is actually under the same umbrella, which is very smart on our part. So because we talk and we need to plug in so frequently that now that we're one team, we're starting with the same insights, we're starting with the same consumer in mind, we're starting with the same ideas from the beginning. So I would say for footwear, I come in about a quarter way of the process of when it gets started, and then I start to do the work that I need to do against my role as a merchant.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. Like Lauren said, merchandising is something we talk about a lot, but aren't often getting in-depth understanding of. So really helpful to gain your insight there. This next question is for Erin. As an SPM alum, what was your greatest learning from the program that you continue to utilize in your role today?
Yeah, thank you. I guess I'll just kind of echo Natalie a little bit. Like, I know in the program it's hard to I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It's hard to understand that you have a few different triads, right? And the way I like to look at it, and let me grab a piece of paper and just show you guys. But sorry, I'm a grandma at heart and like to do things like this. But you've got a bunch of oh shoot, let's get well. Okay, so you've got a bunch of oh, it's not gonna work. Hang on, everyone. Let's get rid of this. Backgrounds and filters, none. Cool. Okay. So in my opinion, the triad's a couple different ways. I was never an artist or a drawer. I can sometimes sketch, don't judge this, but you've got a couple points, right? You've got one here, you've got one here, one up here, down there, down there. You got a couple different ones, right? To me, the triad isn't just one singular triangle. And it's not just your designers, your developers, and your PLM, right? Like there are so many counterparts. You've got your costing partners, you've got your sourcing partners, sometimes one and the same for us. You've got your materials developers and how they work with your developers. And then we're kind of this other point where we have to be in communication with both. And then one of, honestly, to me, the greatest partners I have is my merchandising partners. They have so much insight and information and data really to bring to the table that help you make really educated decisions as a product line manager. So definitely think about the triad as a few different triangles linked together, and then the end goal being that product. And that's one thing I guess kind of ties into my answer about the SPM program is when I first started off in there, I definitely thought it was just, okay, these three make the product. It is what it is. It's the done deal, right? But there is more to it. And when you have, that greater vision, looking from a macro level of like, okay, we've got the start of the product creation process, beginning with your PLM and your merchandising team. Actually, even before that, you've got your merchandising team working with your planning team, like Natalie said, and all of that ties into you being able to make decisions as a product line manager. And I don't think I quite understood that fully when I was leaving the program. And I think that it's definitely improving, and you're getting more exposure with EBJ kind of explaining those things from the development lens. But yeah, for me, it's at the end of the day, the biggest thing I learned is that you have to start with, the consumer, and that often starts with that merchandising team. So don't leave them out. I also think coming out of the program, you guys are super, and I hate using that term, so you all are super prepared to go into the merchandising field as well. So don't short yourselves on that end. You understand how to capture data, how to read the consumer, how to read what the consumer's reading, and how to fit that into product. You understand how to build visuals, you understand how to build decks, which is all like important, small, hard skills. But beyond that, you learn how to assort product in the current function that you're in at the SPM program. So don't short yourselves and don't short the merch team. They're the real G's. They help us get to where we need to go. And then the last thing that I would say for what I learned coming out of the SPM program is communication is key. And that's not just a cliche. It's so true when you work, whether you're a merchandiser, a developer, a designer, a PLM. You have to be able to talk to the people around you. You have to be able to ask the hard questions, challenge each other, and at the end of the day, get the best out of each other. And the program really taught me how to work with people who are far different from me, and that differences doesn't make us any less successful or set up for success. It actually makes us even better. So I would take that and make sure you all are really respecting how different thoughts come from different counterparts that you work with, and respect each and every one of them, because at the end of the day, that thought or that idea right there might be a game changer in the product that you come up with.
Thank you so much, Erin. I've always loved hearing from you and, your experience with the program. I feel like you bring a level of realness for us to hear about, and so it's really helpful. I have an overall question for everyone, and it's just like, what advice would you give to women who are trying to break into the sports product industry? And maybe like, what's that best piece of advice that you got when you were stepping into your roles?
I can answer first. I talked about it a little bit, but I think just respect the journey. Sometimes it is a journey, and I know I think a lot of people, especially former athletes, have that like critical drive, and we see a lot of that at Nike. And I know I can be hard on myself sometimes, and so I think just really trying to step out of that and take every opportunity you can to really be just that, an opportunity. And I think one of the other things too, that a piece of advice I was given that was really helpful was like, no one's gonna, fight for your career journey harder than you're going to. And so take risks. The way that I got we have stretch assignments at Nike, which is basically where you do a job that you want to get for free, basically kind of like an intern in your job. And so I was never offered a stretch opportunity. Every stretch that I had, I went and pitched myself to, I saw a gap, learned to identify gaps in areas, and try to bring the best, figure out where you can bring the best to the team, and how you can make yourself invaluable, and really follow through with that and prove that to the teams, because I think actions definitely speak louder than words. And that is for sure how I've gotten to have some of the opportunities I have, is because I believe in myself. And if I didn't believe in myself or have the confidence to put myself out there, then why should anybody else have the confidence in me? So that definitely, people can read that even when you think that they can't. It definitely comes off of you for sure. So yeah, I think that was all the whole question.
I mean, I can jump into, I'll really toe off of what you just mentioned. For me, it's one thing that rings in my head over and over again, almost every day, as we do the work that we do. And I was told one time that you can either choose the brand or you can choose the role. And for me, leaving the program, I knew, okay, I want to be a PLM. Where do I want to be a PLM? End goal. And some of you may know, and some of you may not. I've spoken to you a lot before, but I grew up as a soccer player, as a football player. And at the end of the day, I'd love to be in a spot where I could impact the female football player, be a part of her journey, find out, where she can find better footing and have a better foundation to stand upon, because she is just as much a part of the sport and a part of the culture of football as any male that watches the game or plays the game. And so that's like a super far end goal. But then I think, okay, what's the brand that I want to be a part of? And we've spoken to it already, but it's always been Nike. It's always been Jordan Brand. This brand who stands for so many marginalized groups, who combats kind of the traditional way of thinking across, not just the United States, but the world, who gives voices to those who otherwise would not have one. I wanted to always be a part of something bigger than myself, and I don't see that anywhere other than at Nike or at Jordan. And so on that same lens, looking at, the brand or the role, right? For me, I knew that you can't choose the brand or the role right when you get out of the program. And that's how I thought about it. you are entering your career in this industry where, even as Kaylee said, as Natalie said, you take a winding path to get to where you want to be. And the only way to do that sometimes is to take a role at a brand where you know you're going to learn as much as you possibly can to add value then to your dream role later on. And for me, you know, speaking quite bluntly, like, I knew that if I went to the North Face as my first step, as my kind of entry into the challenging world that is product line management, I knew I would learn so much so quickly. We have far fewer resources. We do a great amount of business, and I would touch product that goes from not only performance to lifestyle, but everything in between. And so what I would give as a piece of advice stemming from that, either brand or role, is don't take it as a negative, take it as a positive. Say, if I know for a fact I can't be an APLM, but I want to learn what an APLM is learning, then find a place where you can be an APLM, learn that from the ground up, advance there, add value, make a difference, and then take those learnings to your next dream role. And if you do that, I think you're really setting not only yourself, but your team or your future team up for success. So that's the biggest piece of advice that I would both give and have learned.
And for me, we've all touched on it, Kaylee, Aaron, and myself. The first thing I would say is know that every single role you have, you take some tools from it to apply it to your next experience. That would be the first one. The second one would be, if you're not learning, you're not growing, right? And why would you be in a space, in a place where you're not growing? The other piece to that is that understand that no matter what level the person is on your team, whether they're junior or mid-level or senior, all the way up to the CEO, you can learn something from everyone, which is why you have teams. And everybody has a different experience to bring to the table. So be open and receptive to everyone's ideas. And the third one I would say is find balance, right? You can tell that we're all passionate about what we do, but you also have to find the balance of what motivates you and what moves you outside of work, so that you can bring your best self to work as well. And then also bring your best self to your personal life. So those would be the three things that I would definitely want to leave you with.
Awesome. All amazing advice. Thank you all. I think we have time for one question from the audience. So I know, Aaron, so you talked a lot about how Nike PLM was your angle. And I know, Kaylee, you talked to about some of the different roles that helped lead her to a role. Jeff M asked, people who are early in entering the sports product field but have some outside professional experience, what are the best / realistic moves to make if the goal is a Nike PLM? If anyone wants to hop into that one.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Go ahead, Kaylee. It's okay. Go for it. You got it first.
I was going to say, like, I think if you want to be at Nike, don't be afraid to take a contract. I had to do that, and I had to work my way up, and there's no shame in the game. And like I said, you may gain some experience. So don't be afraid to take a contract for sure. And I think, just like I said before, make the opportunities for yourself. I think if you believe in yourself and know your strengths, that's a big one too. And you know what you bring to the table, then be strategic about how you offer that up to others and into other positions.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say what I've learned too, and it's no knock to any experience that anyone might have, but it is true. Like, if you don't have product specific experience, it's tough to always know the day-to-day nitty-gritty, like to and from that happens within our roles. And so getting that experience, I think, is the most important thing. And like I said, I mean, I have nothing but love and respect for my time at TNF. It was such an incredible experience. The brand is just booming and moving forward and looking to change the game in so many ways. And all of my teammates there to this day are some of my greatest friends. And I'm so grateful for all of it. What I'm most grateful for there, though, was how much I had to learn how quickly. And what I will say is, just like Kaylee said, if you do know it's Nike and you're able to find that right contract role where you can kind of do some stretch or like work into specific things, then great. If you aren't sure that that's a possibility for you, another route that I would recommend taking is finding a brand that where you can go and wear a ton of hats, learn every bit of every function, and then take that value and add it backwards, you know? And it doesn't always have to be that straight path in one brand. And of course, that's the dream for everyone. I want to start as a PIA at Nike and I want to work my way up to the CEO, right? Like it's everybody's dream, but it's not always reality. This is a very competitive market. There's a lot of sharks that they're looking to get themselves, you know, in the water, and they all want to be a part of this game. And so you have to do your best to find ways to learn, grow, become the best teammate you possibly can. And then you can always add that value back. And in doing so, you might learn things about systems and process that will add value to your team at Nike, which you wouldn't have known had you not taken the leap elsewhere. So if you're passionate about product and sport, you can be passionate about product and sport at another brand as well. And I know that's a hard thing and a hard pill to swallow for people who are diehard Nike and Jordan brand people, because I was one of them. So don't be afraid to get your feet wet somewhere else and take that experience however you can get it.
Thank you both. So, and we're running up on time here, so I wanted to wrap it up with one fun question. Our question is, would you rather fly first class for free for the rest of your life or be given a MJ signed AJ1?
I'm gonna fly free for life. I love MJ, but come on. First class for life?
I know that's such a tough one. I feel like people want us to say the MJ shoe, right? But yeah, how can you turn down flying first class? I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna ride the train here. I agree. Like flying first class for the rest of your life is huge. How about maybe we combine it and fly first class with MJ while we're wearing J's, and then he signs the one we're wearing, and then it's a happy medium for everyone.
Yeah, I want that one.
I'll go there. Yeah, I'll go there on that one.
You never know who you're going to see in first class, so it could happen.
It's true. It's true.
For sure. Best of both worlds. I like the creativity. All right. Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. And thank you so much to the panelists for taking the time. It was so great to hear from you and learn about your experience and gather your advice. And we just appreciate it so much. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks for having us. And good luck, everybody, on your product journey.
Good luck, Kylie. Yeah. Reach out if you guys need anything at all.
Yeah, definitely.